Warning, this DVD is not rated. Viewer and parental discretion is advised. If you are caught breaking copyright laws, you will be subject to a 330 conibear set off over your head. If you do not wish to view realism of trapping scenes that editing cannot hide, we suggest you do not watch this DVD. You can expect to see reasonable amounts of blood, hear minor cursing, and watch one man and his attempt to provide for his family. Set down the pack basket. It's now time to learn how to catch weasels. Warning, check all of your local state laws and regulations before practicing any of the methods aired on this video.
Howdy, my name's Gary Schumann. For the next hour, we're going to be showing you how to catch weasels. Not just any weasel, white weasels. In the winter, the weasels turn white. That's one of their natural defenses. They're brown in the summer, and then in the winter they'll turn white, except for the black tip on their tail. The predators, like a hawk or an owl from the air, they'll spot this black tip on their tail, and instead of going for their body, they'll go for this tail. So that's what I'm going. But it takes a little bit of snow on the ground for this to happen. It's their natural defense. So if there's no snow on the ground, they're going to be brown. So you have to wait till like December and until about March is when you can trap the weasels. Okay. How I found out how to trap these weasels about 10 years ago, I just kind of stumbled upon it. I was trapping muskrats, and every ditch I seemed to come upon had these little weasel tracks in it. I didn't even know what a weasel track looked like. And I asked a buddy of mine. He said, "Oh yeah, I used to trap weasels as a kid, you know." And he told me he used to use a coffee can. Just put his trap in a coffee can and put a lid on it and cut a hole in the lid, and that's how he used to do it. But it seemed cumbersome to me, so what I did is I built a box. And here's the box I've come up with. I just take 2 pieces of wood, and then I take like a cardboard, plastic cardboard, and I make them. But and it's a real simple method, you know. That's how I learned to do it, and they kind of float in the water too if you get a flood or something in the ditches. So these seem to work good for me. There's a lot of different methods to catch a weasel. Some people use shoe boxes. Some people use, like I said, coffee cans, to milk jugs, to whatever way you can figure out. But this method that I have that I'll be showing you is a weatherproof method. I'm going to show you how to build these boxes because not too many people you won't be able to buy these at the store or something. So you're going to have to make these boxes. So we're going to go out in the wood shop and we'll show you how to do it. Okay. To make your weasel box, what you have to do is have 5.5 inches on the inside, because your trap has to be set inside. So you want a 5.5 inch opening both ways. What I take and do is I'll just take a piece of 1/2 inch or 3/4 inch plywood or whatever I have for scrap, and that's 5.5 inches by about 1 foot. Yeah, it's 1 foot long. And that's what I'll do. I'll just take whatever I have. Right here I have some old drawers I tore apart on the cabinet maker, so I tore some old drawers apart. I'll use that. It's nice and lightweight, and it didn't cost me nothing. And that's what you want to do, is have something very cheap, because you know, an animal bites it or something, or you catch coons junk, or somebody steals it. You don't want to have too much into it. So what I do is I use this, it's like cardboard, but it's plastic, and it's white. And a lot of times you'll get it like in rebar or something. When they haul rebar, they'll put a sheet of this down, 4x8 sheet of this down on the trailer, and then they'll put the rebar on it so it don't freeze down to the trailer's bed. So I have a friend of mine that gave me some of this, and it seemed to work real well. And I like the fact that it's white. It blends right in. People don't see it as much. So that's what I do. I'll take and cut that like 6 3/4 wide. So by the time you have your inch, you know, 1/2 inch here and 1/2 inch there, you got 5.5, 5 3/4. So you set that at 6 3/4. Safety first always. Put your glasses on. I got a sheet of cardboard over here. We really don't need the blade that high, so we'll drop her down a little bit. couple. Now your wood only needs to be 5.5 inches wide. Okay, now I need to cut these off at 12 inches. Take her over to the chop saw. Straighten them all off. They don't have to be right on, so I'll just go about that, 12, 13 inches. Alright, now what I do is I use a staple gun. Okay. Now if you noticed, I cut this across the grain. Just the opposite of a stretcher, so it will fold. See that? Now you can fold it anyway. So this is, you have to remember that, because that's pretty important there. Now what I do is I'll take the staple gun and I'll nail the, how do I do that again? Oh yeah, on the side. Start in the back, the top of the box. Start in the back, put it flush with your wood. Okay. You don't need no glue or nothing. Actually, I could set it a little deeper. So you got that side, now you do the other side. This is really simple. It don't take long. Kind of cheap. Okay, now you simply fold it up and you bend it down. Very simple. Put a couple nails in there. You have to set the air so the staples don't blow right through your cardboard. See how they're sticking out? Don't worry about that. We'll just tap them in later. You don't want them blowing through because then you can't pull them out. Right. Now it's getting easier yet. Now just look at that. Be trapping weasels all night long. Okay, now this we don't do nothing with. That's the back door. Look at that, one weasel box. Now what I do is I'll take a ring shank nail. You can see the rings around it. They put drywall on and stuff like that with it. And you put that through the top. Look it won't pull out. It's hard to pull out big time. So now for the door. That's all you do is you cut a hole with a knife. You can either cut a hole with a knife or you can cut a hole with a drill or whatever you want to do. I just use a knife. It's very easy. Very simple. What you want to do though is come up off the bottom. You don't want to have the hole on the bottom. The trap is about this, about 1/2 inch tall, 3/4 of an inch tall. So what I do is I like to have the bottom flat, just like the trap is flat. Okay, instead of a circle, have it flat and then you just cut it round. Try and center it. Just kind of cut it. What you think the size of a hole would be. How big a weasel would be. Now if you've seen that head on that weasel, you know that get in there real easy. So you don't want to cut too small of a hole because they'll be reluctant to go in it. You don't want to cut too big of a hole because you're going to catch mink and everything. You'll catch too many non-target animals. So there it is, simple as that. You can take and pound these staples in if you want, but I just leave it like that. Now, before you go and set it up, one more thing I like to do is cut a little hole right here for the chain. Or your wire, and that's where you bring your chain through, right through there, and then you wire it off to your tree or whatever. So That's as easy as that. Now you can make these or you can buy these also. If you have the right, well, I shouldn't say you can buy them. Not too many people carry these, but some people use milk jugs. You take a milk jug and you just cut the top off it. There's another one. You cut a hole in that. Set them anywhere. But they're light and they'll blow around in a wind, so you have to kind of throw snow around them. Another method of catching weasels is a shoebox. You just take a shoebox and cut a hole same way. Put your trap in it. Put the top back on it. Or another friend of mine used coffee cans when he was a kid. He used to tell me, you just put your trap inside the coffee can, the big cans. Put your trap inside of it, and then you put your plastic lid on. Just cut a hole in the lid. You got a weasel box. So there's a lot of ways to make these weasel boxes. I seen another weasel box that was twice as long as this, and they had 2 traps in it. 1 trap on each end, the bait in the middle. So, I mean, there's any way you can think of to catch some weasel. My board sets. I have board sets that I use for muskrats. Right here is another method that people use. In the deep snow, up in the UP of Michigan, there's a lot of snow, or any place there's deep snow. You'll take a foot trap like this, put it on the nail, and then you'll take, and on this nail you'll put your bait. You put your chunk of bird, whatever you put on there, and then wire it on there, and then stick this in the snow on an angle, and the weasel will run up and get that. The problem with this is you get a lot of non-target animals using this method. But another method, if you take a conibear, 110 conibear, I'll be right back. I'll go grab one. You take a 110 conibear, a magnum that shuts all the way. You set that 110 conibear, and on this trigger, you put your bait, okay, and set it on the first knot, so it's easy to pull. It's easy to set off, and they'll simply pull on that, and wham, they get caught, and that works pretty good too. But these aren't weatherproof. If you got this set on the top of the snow, it's not. You get a little snow and it gets ice on there. It's not weatherproof. Just like the board set for the muskrats, that's not weatherproof. These are weatherproof. You get them in a culvert, you can get a foot of snow, and they're still working order. So, I over the years I've come to like this method the best. I used to have sliding doors that slid, but this flop over door is fast and efficient, and quick, and that's what you want. You want to get in the ditch or anywhere. You want to set your trap and get out before somebody comes and steals your trap, or you just want to get in and get out before you leave too much scent. There's a lot of things you don't want to be there. You're making noise and stuff. So, and oftentimes where these culverts are, them weasels are living right in them culverts or around on that bridge. So, I like to be quiet, get in, get out, and you're gone. Okay, we need to know why we go out trap. A lot of times, in February to March, there'll be a lot of snow on the ground. Well, the trapping season in my area is over. It ends, the muskrat trapping season ends January 31st. So in February there's deep snow, and if you get cabin fever, there's nothing to do. So I've learned this is the perfect time to trap weasels, and I trap them like if I'm going trapping beaver, or even during trapping season I'll still trap weasels. Because then come about Christmas time, you get so much snow that it's just hard to just focus on one animal. You need to catch whatever you can out there to help pay for the gas and what have you. Like the muskrats, I'll catch 100 rats at the beginning of the season. By the time Christmas comes, I'll be lucky to catch 15 or 20. So a couple weasels will help pay for the gas, or just add a little fun to the trip is what it does. The children get hooked on it. And so, the weasel boxes you use, you might only have out 10 or 12, or like me, I had up to 80 the one year, but I made a job out of it. That and that was a little bit too extreme. You're not going to get rich off weasel trapping. You just want to do it for fun. Get out of the house. The cabin fever reliever is what it's all about. And a lot of people are interested. It really brings a buzz. If you go to sell your rats at a first sale, or you go to sell anything at the first sale, and you bring in this pile of weasels, and everybody just swarms around you. Not that you don't want the attention necessary to you, but you do want the attention to your fur. So it just brings a lot of buzz around. So weasel trapping, just all the way around, it's just a lot of fun. It's pretty interesting to teach. It's just another teaching tool to educate people and get people aware of their surroundings and nature. Just get in tune with nature. And people need to do that more, because everybody's getting away from that nowadays. So every little trick we can come across, it's better. So, all right, enough about that. Let's go learn about where to set them. Let's go. We're gonna go. I'll show you where to set them, and when to set them, and when not to set them, and why you set it here. Howdy, welcome to the show. Today we're gonna be out checking for weasel tracks, and I have a few weasel boxes already out. I set them out yesterday. It was a good tracking day, and the weather was a little chilly last night. It was down to 0, so they might not have ran real good. You want a little warmer than that, but I found quite a few tracks already today, so I think it's going to be a good day. Here's another good weasel location. What we have is a cattail ditch going this way, an intersection. There's cattails running this way, and there's a few cattails running that way. Well, you can see as you look in the snow, it tells a story. We have tracks from all kinds of animals. We have raccoon tracks here, and this is what we're after, is the weasel tracks. It looks like almost like two fingers. If you took your fingers and put your two fingers together, it looks like that, and that's what that is. That's a weasel track. Now there's certain times of year, there's certain times of the winter that tracking's easier. Like right now it's melting a little bit, so the tracks are a little harder to find. What you want to do is go after fresh snow, like a day or two after a fresh snow, and then the tracks are easy to find. So it's not always good condition. Sometimes you want to be setting traps, sometimes you want to be checking for tracks. Oh, there's a track. There's an easy one here. A lot of times you can see the tracks from the truck, because weasels are erratic. They run all over. So I found a track here. We're trapping the ditches, and right now it's late February, early March, kind of the time of the year where things are melting down, and the weasels run the ditches. So because they're breeding, number one, and a lot of birds and rabbits and things like that, they head to the ditches when it gets windy, and just to get out of the weather, they hang out in the brush. So this is a really good spot. Okay, right here is another bridge set, my favorite spot, and there's all kinds of tracks underneath. There's mouse tracks, there's weasel tracks and everything. But as you'll see, this is a big weasel. He's sinking right into the snow. You can see where he ran out and run back in, and let's go look on the other side. I bet you he's running over there too. Yeah, well, it's hard to see the tracks sometimes. That's why it's so important to check the edges of the culverts. Right here is where you're going to find your tracks, and on the other side you can see some stuff like some dirt falling down. That's a good spot. But what I always try to do is set where the tracks are, because if they walk there once, the chances are they're going to go there again. Okay, so that's what I'll do, is I'll put a weasel box down here right under the bridge, because what you're going to want to do is keep it under the bridge, number one, so people don't see it. Number two, right now we get snow. You get a snowstorm, you never know when you're going to get snow, so it's out of the weather. It'll work even in the snowstorms. So that's something but the main thing is you got to find these tracks, and if you find the tracks, usually within a week you'll have that weasel. They're not afraid of any scent. You don't have to use gloves. I use jersey gloves is all. They're not afraid of the trap. I don't cover the trap up with anything. I always like to keep things simple, and there isn't anything as simple as weasel trapping. It's a really good way to get the kids hooked on it, trapping also. They can set the traps, and it's fun looking for tracks. It's fun to teach the children what the different tracks are, because at first they don't really know what tracks are which. After a week, oh, that's a pheasant track, there's a coon track, there's a rep. They're telling you what the tracks are right from the truck. So it's a fun way to teach the children what different tracks are. What the tracks from the animals look like. So we better get a weasel box. And that's what we're looking for. Look at all the weasel tracks. There's weasel tracks. They're doink, doink, doink. You can see them all over under there. And there's mouse tracks everywhere. That's just what we're looking for. This will be definitely out of the weather. What I use for bait is just feathers from a bird or rabbit fur. You try not to use any bloody baits. Bloody baits will make the weasel get bloody. You know, if you have any blood in there and they get it on them at all, they get red. The blood gets on their hide and it's hard to get out. They just don't look that good, so. And I don't like dealing with bloody bait, so it's a lot easier if you just use something, just fur, feathers. Okay, now the box, what you want to do is your hole should be about an inch or about an inch above the bottom. So when your trap is set in there, it's set, you know, you don't want it up above it, so it's hard for them to get in. You don't want it too low so they jump over the trap. Because weasels, they're very fast. Oftentimes the weasel gets caught on the way out, believe it or not. They jump right over your trap. But before they come out, they tend to step on that pan of the foot trap before they come out. Now there's a lot of different versions of a weasel box. Here, this is I made this a couple years back where it just has a door that flips up, you know, and you put some snow behind it, or you know, but you know, this is just another method of catching the weasel. There's a lot of different methods. What I do is put the foot trap in there. You got to set that nice and light. Get your so just a mouse has set it off. And the bait that you use should be bigger than the hole, so the weasel can't pull. You don't want the weasel to pull your bait through the hole. So it's as simple as that. Now here, there's no coon tracks or nothing, so you don't really have to worry about the coons and possums and stuff eating your catch as much. But you want to make sure that you get that tucked in the snow so they can't open that back door. What I do is I'll put it in place. You have to be careful not to set your trap off. It's real light, okay? And if there's nothing to wire it off to, you simply wire this to like a brick or something heavy, okay? All right, let's go get something to wire that off to. Here's a hot spot I set yesterday, but as you can see, there's no tracks that you can see. So what you want to do, as you can see, this is a bridge. The stony culverts are what you want to look for, the stuff like this. So what you do is you need to come and look inside the culvert. That's what I did yesterday. And as when you come down here, you'll see all the weasel tracks running everywhere. See the tracks? The weasel tracks are all over the place. Doink, 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 doink. And so, you know, you can't see that from the truck. So oftentimes people are like, there ain't no weasels around me. Well, a lot of times you got to get out of the truck to see the tracks. There's a whole bunch over here. Look at them all over here. And see, right now the ice, we had a flood a couple weeks ago and the water was up. The ice come up and then the ice went down. So a lot of the weasels are running like right here. They're going underneath this shale ice, underneath the shelf. So a lot of times this is the only spot they come up. Oh, look at that. I just set this trap yesterday. I got one already. Check it out. And look at, see that weasel? It's coming out of the box. It's not going in, it's coming out. Look at, check it out. See, look at, see that's what that weasel did. This is a female, it's a smaller weasel. Now we have see, you can see when she was coming out, she touched her front feet, and that's how they get caught. Almost always that's how it works. So that's pretty amazing. Once I come to a spot almost exactly like this. It was snowing to beat hell, and oh, can't get that weasel out. We're gonna have to take that weasel home and thaw it out. Well, anyway, it was snowing out, and I had a weasel box right here, and you could see the fresh weasel tracks going right to some shale ice, like a hole under the ice. And I looked, and all of a sudden, up popped the weasel. I remember that song, nursery rhyme, Pop Goes the Weasel. Well, that's all I could think of when I seen it, because he popped up from the ice, and he got up and he shot into the box. I'm like, wow, I got him. So I run down there and grabbed the box. I looked in the box, and my trap was still set, and I never even seen the weasel come back out. So I put the box back down there, and the weasel come back up, and he went back in, come back out. I just couldn't believe it. So I had another weasel box just down the road from it, so I went and checked that weasel box. Come back 5 minutes later, and I had that weasel already. So that's the weasels. They're not afraid of nothing, not even afraid of you. So that's, sometimes you'll hear stories, people, yeah, you come right up to me, you know, he's on the barrel of my gun, or you know. So they're not afraid of too much. But oh, there he goes. You have to be careful when you take the weasel out of the trap. Sometimes they get like this and you can't get them out of the trap. You'll break them right in half when they're froze. Because see, it's down to 0. Oh, the fleas are dead anyway, if you can see the fleas. But they'll break right in half. You got to be careful. But that's another good thing about trapping when the dead of winter like this, is the fleas aren't an issue. I once put a bunch of weasels in my pocket and went home. I was itching for 3 days. Now look at, see that? I could catch a mouse with that. That you want to set your pan in your trap just real light. A lot of times you have to set it off once to see just how light it'll go. Yeah, right about there. But you know, another thing too, this is real heavy. So that weasel, if it has it in its mouth, your baits, that'll help your trap go off also. Don't be discouraged if your bait's in your trap set off and there's weasel tracks everywhere, because that weasel will be back that night. So you'll get them. When it's really cold like this, possums and skunks and raccoons, they really don't travel much. But if you get a warm night when it's raining, it's supposed to rain tomorrow, all them animals are going to be running the ditches. If you don't wire your sets off, they're going to be taking your trap. Or your cats. You want to check your traps every day. Wheeze! All right. This is what's called a lesser weasel because they're real small. There's a weasel called the greater weasel, and they get a lot bigger, but that's up north in like the UP and Canada also. Oh, false alarm. That's a squirrel track there. You'll see 4 tracks together. It's hard to see it. Maybe if you can see it a little bit better here. Right there you'll have a squirrel track has 2 like that and 2 close. That's a squirrel almost always. Mink sometimes will do that also, but I'll show you a better mink track later. Okay, here yesterday I set a weasel box. I seen these tracks here. This is from a female weasel. That's a small weasel. That's how you know the females from the males. The male stride will be a lot longer, where the female stride is close. But a lot of times the weasels will live here. They'll live in these stones. So the stony culverts is what I look for. And what you want to see too is brush in the ditch, where this one doesn't have a lot of brush. If you'll notice, it's kind of a clear ditch. You want to have a thick cattail ditch. Oftentimes the ditches that you'll catch mink and stuff in, you'll catch weasels in. So that's what I try and focus on, is setting the good mink ditches from earlier in the year. And what you want to do too is remember, almost every spot that you get a weasel this year, there'll be weasel tracks and weasels there next year. So I try to just go to hit the same spots as the year before, and almost always there's the tracks there. So once you find a good set, put that in your memory bank. Nothing today, but maybe tomorrow. Here's a deceiving weasel track. What a lot of times people say, oh yeah, I seen weasel tracks, and you get out of the truck and it's nothing but a mouse track. And deer mice is this is what a deer mouse track looks like. There'll be 4 prints together. You'll see 2 and 2, all 4 at once. Doink, 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 doink. And sometimes you'll even see the tail dragging, you know, a lot smaller than that obviously, but these are all mouse tracks. Remember earlier when I said you want to remember them culverts? Well, here's a perfect example. There's a culvert here, and I know there was weasels there in the years past. So I come here yesterday, and lo and behold, there's weasel tracks down here. Come, let's take a closer look. It's hard to see from the truck, so sometimes you have to get out. But see, you'll see them right there. Doink, it's a big male. Look at the size of his stride. His stride's that far apart. You see tracks here, tracks there. and he went right to that culvert. So he's checking them culverts out. The weasels, they check the culverts out every time they come through. There's a nice, easy mouse meal, or if there's a rabbit sitting in there, or, you know, anything. Or just to get out of the weather, they go into the culverts also. So you got to remember them sets. Don't ever forget them. Let's get a weasel box going. Okay, what we want to do is make sure that that pan is set extremely light. Oh, yeah. Always put your finger under the trap. So that would have hurt pretty bad. Okay, you see it just very, very light on the edge there. About that up there. Sometimes you'll set your trap off when you go to put that in there, so you got to be careful. Go slow. Maybe have a couple feathers you throw around. Be a little added attractant. Put your door on there. Tuck it in. Now you want it to be visible to the, if you can bring it, make it visible to the weasel, but not visible to the people going by. Tuck some snow in there. All right. He won't be able to resist that. All right, next set. Here's another perfect spot for a weasel box. Where you want to set your weasel box is around the perimeter of a swamp. And here we have like an intersection. We have a creek coming in this way. We have a berm here, another creek over here. It's like an intersection where all the animals come. That's what you want to focus your activities on, these pinch points like this. For instance, down here, this is where your weasels are going to run. You don't want to set your trap up on the high spot. You want to set your weasel trap down here where it's nice and low, because this is where they're going to be running, down here. They'll have your trap up there. They'll like run it by it all season. So you gotta, that's why it's so important to set your box where you find the weasel tracks. Okay, here's some tracks here. They're hard to see, but you can see them. Okay, here's a spot here where I got a weasel box. You can barely see the tracks. There's tracks here and tracks there and tracks there. There's pheasant tracks, but if you see, there's a hill up there and it's a low spot. And that's here again, that's where you want to get, especially around the perimeter of them swamps. You get in that low spot and that's where the weasels are running. Now, in this weasel box, it's pretty neat. I caught not one, but 2 deer mice here so far. And that's all I've caught. I didn't get no weasel, but what I do is I'll just put those deer mice right back in the box because that's a good bait. So the only problem, I try to use a little bit bigger bait than that because the weasel will pull that out of the hole sometimes. So, but them deer mice there, they'll be there. I'll get that wheezy. Just gotta have patience sometimes with them. Sometimes you'll leave a trap for up to a month. I've caught 8 weasels out of one box, one spot, just like this, and over a month's period of time. So once you catch one, it makes it an attractor. The other weasels come and they smell that smell, and they'll come just because of that. Another thing, weasels are cannibalistic, so they'll come and eat the weasels that you've caught already. And for that reason, weasels themselves are good bait. Oh my. Gas is $3.45 a gallon. Can you imagine that? It's supposed to go up to $4 for long. It's hard to make trapping worthwhile. That's a lot of another reason why I started trapping weasels. When the going gets tough, anything worth money is what you want to trap. Sometimes it's all there's is rats. So you gotta try and catch something else. Weasels, coons, fox, mink. Hey, we're going to a Nonka Point now. They got weasels there. Nonka Point, once I caught 40 weasels in 1 year, the first year I trapped it. One spot. It was within 2 miles, 2-mile radius. So that was just amazing. I don't know why there was so many weasels that year, but they must go in cycles like anything else, because that was probably the best year I had. I caught 140 weasels that year, and you know, I usually catch anywhere from about 50 to, that was to 100, you know, a year is about average in my area. Some areas have a lot more weasels than that though. Okay, here's another really good location. Here's a spot where I catch multiple catches here every year. What you want is here, see how you'll see this all open field here. It's all open field there, and the bay is there. Now right in through here, it's all the brushy spot. Well, this is the funnel for all the animals to come through, especially the weasels. They'll run in this brushy area, and that's where I try to always make my set. Like right here, right where that goes down, it's real brushy, and it's a sharp bank. That's where the rabbits and the pheasants will hang out when it's windy, and that's where the weasels will travel every time it snows. There'll be a fresh set of tracks over there. So that's what you want to do. This is a good spot to set 2 or 3 boxes. Like there's a spot just across the road right here where they run to, where I've in the past I've set boxes, always caught them. So like I said earlier, you always remember them good sets, and you just go right back to that same spot even if you don't find tracks. Like right now it's real crunchy snow, so it's hard to find them tracks. So that's what you need to go find them. You know, just go to your old spots. Or what I like to do too is try to find like rabbits. If you see some rabbits or rabbit tracks, or even pheasants, if you see the pheasants, and watch out where they're hanging, because that's where, you know, them weasels will be after all that stuff. They'll be after them. And so, you know, if you can't find weasel tracks, look for other animals that they eat. So, and that'll help you out a lot. But the key is to have just the fresh snow is the main thing on finding these weasels. You got to have the location is the key. You want to put your weasel box where you find the tracks. Don't, if you find tracks down there, put it up on the hill. You got to put it where they're walking. They'll run right by it every time if you don't have them in a close proximity. Yeah, see right here, some deer mice tracks. And look at, they're right on the bottom of the hill. Here's some more tracks. Looks like a squirrel or a rabbit was here. You know, so this is where you want your weasel box, right here, right down here. That way nobody from the road's gonna see it and steal your stuff. And that's, you know, they're right there, right on that bottom curve. That's where you want to focus all your activities. We better get a weasel box. Okay, there's animals around here other than weasels. There's skunks and coons and everything, so you got to make sure you wire your trap off. I always try to wire them off, but if it's going to be zero and they're in a culvert or something, there's nothing else, I sometimes skip it. But right now, this time of year, the skunks breed, and they'll come into your box. Raccoons too, they're breeding right now, so there's a lot of animals running around. Ooh, breeding. Oh geez, I'm getting edgy. Now these traps I have are just my weak traps. You don't need a real strong trap. You know, a trap that you don't really even use anymore for muskrats and mink and stuff. If it's too weak to use for that, that's plenty strong enough for a weasel. Because the weasels, remember, these foot traps will catch them by the body. It's not catching them by the foot. It's their whole body gets caught. So once that trap goes off, they're not moving. All right. What I try to do is make it so the sun's not shining in it too. Because if the sun shines in there, your weasels have thin hides and they'll rot. You want to check your traps every day. Oh, it's touchy. Oh. Sometimes it's a little frustrating, but this is the best weasel trap there is, a touchy trap. I don't know how they can get by that trap without setting it off. Almost every time, like I said earlier, they get caught coming out of the box. It's amazing. I use ring shank nails to push through this plastic, because they tend to hold. If you use just a regular nail, when you poke it through, it'll come out easy. Especially if a raccoon comes around, he can mess around and open you up there. Okay, weasel box, a little bait, throw your stuff in there, and off we go. Okay, here's a spot where there's a brush pile. Sometimes brush piles like this, where people pile up brush. What I like to do is walk around in a circle around that, and you'll find tracks a lot of times. rabbits and other stuff just love to hang out in these brush piles. That's why the weasels go in them. Here we go, look at it. You can't hardly see them, but there's tracks all over right through here. They're hard to see right now. See, it's almost impossible to see the tracks certain times. That's why it's so important to go looking for these tracks after a snow, so they're real easy to spot. I'm gonna have to put a weasel box here. We found tracks. Now here, I'm right by the road. If you'll look, my truck's right there. So there's gonna be a lot of people by here. So if you got a tree like this, it's a really good spot to hide your trap behind that tree, because I had weasel boxes stole here in the past, so I try to. And that's another thing too, even if you find a lot of weasels in one spot, if it's a high theft area, don't overset it. Just put one here and one there. Don't go putting 6, 8 boxes, because you know the boxes aren't much, but they take time to make. And you know, if you get stuff stolen, it discourages you, and you don't want to keep trapping. So try to hide your traps whenever you can. Here we found a spot where they're coming in and out of out from underneath the ice. You can see all the weasel tracks right here. Doink, 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 and they're coming in and out of here. So what I'm gonna do is just kind of knock it down a little bit so they can't help but see my trap. Now we have rain moving in the next few days, or it's supposed to be here tomorrow, so this water could be going up in the next couple days. So that's could be an issue for us. Put that, shut the box. Put that there. Now I'll just wire it off to something. These are vines here. Oh, pull the vines down, get yourself just something so if it does rain, so your trap don't float away. Grapevines work good too. Okay, there it is. That'll narrow them down. That narrows the weasels. They'll only come in that one little spot because of that shale ice. So that's what you want, is some pinch points like that, and that'll help you out dramatically. My name's Gary Schumann. Welcome to Living Off the Land. Today we're going to be weasel trapping, otter trapping, and maybe do a little beaver trapping also. And what we have here is the first weasel of the day. I like to set around the edges of swamps. There's an edge of the swamp right here. We parked right there. We're going to check the beaver. I try to trap the weasel along with the beaver and otter. Kind of makes it worth it, and it's a lot of fun to take for children and stuff also. But here I have the biggest weasel of the season, it looks like. But the weasel box I make is just out of cardboard. It's like cardboard, but it's made out of plastic, and it's I use a staple gun to build the boxes, so it's real easy to make them. What you want to do is use your old foot traps to make your weasel traps. You don't want to use your good traps, but the weasels, they'll die from it. They always get caught by the body, so it's kind of like a body gripping trap. But what I always do is, in case you get a skunk or something like that, or a coon or a possum, they'll stick their paw in there from time to time, and so you have to wire your trap off, or they'll haul it right away from you. Now when setting these, you have to set them real touchy, because weasels are very light. We just left a box. I caught a mole, and you know, moles aren't very heavy, and it got caught. And that's one thing you need to watch out for, is moles, because they'll eat your weasel. So you always want to check your traps regularly. You don't just check them once in a while. For bait, I use muskrat, or I like to use the old lucky rabbit leg. But simply put your trap, get it ready, try to keep your box pointed away from the sun. So if you catch something that's not getting in the sun, then close your box up, and I just have a nail here to hold it down. Voila. You need to be careful when you're setting your box down, because a lot of times it'll set off. I always like to have my trap setting down. Okay, notice here how we have a bunch of garbage. This is where mice like to live. and they're hunting the mice, so you kind of need to find what they're going after, and that's the location is the key. Okay, now that you caught your weasels, you need to skin them out or sell them whole like that. I like to sell them whole. It's kind of tricky to skin them. You have to have a very sharp and pointy knife to skin them. A lot of people too, they'll just take and freeze dry them like a taxidermist. They won't even skin them, so they're a little bit tricky to skin. But if you want to skin them, here's the way I do it. The first cut you make is by the back foot. You slice by the Achilles heel, and you just cut across. You can see like there's a fur line right there where it's different color fur. You want to cut right straight just underneath the skin, right across. Like I said, it takes a real sharp knife. Go across the other side. What I'll do too is I'll skin a few of them out. I'll just throw them in the freezer until you get a few of them when you're skinning them, instead of skinning them fresh daily, because of all the fleas. You'll have fleas on you for sure if you skin them fresh every day. So then you cut through towards the tail. This is the hardest part, is cutting, splitting the tail. You just want to go up just a little ways. The tail. Now you don't need a tail stripper for a weasel. You just do with your fingers. But you gotta have to get it up there a little ways so you can get your finger around it. That's where the needle knife comes in. If you don't have that pointy knife, this makes it really hard to do. Okay, you grab the bone, pinch where the hide is tight, and just simply pull the tail out. There it is. Okay, now what you do is hold that bone, and you just kind of start peeling it down. Wherever it's attached, and just slice just above the white hide where it's connected to the meat. And just simply peel it off. There's very little using your knife once you got it started until you get back to the head. Now you just simply peel it through, grab the feet, peel it down. Now here, there's two chunks of fat you want to slice on each side. What I like to do too, if it's hard for you you can just simply hang them up. Try not to get the blood on there though. That's one, blood and weasels, kind of hard to clean off. So, okay, yeah, you just simply pull it down until you get to the front legs. And you pull the front legs through one at a time. Roll it over. Okay. Now you pull it down until you see the ears come through. Or ears. There's the ears. It'll take you a couple times to learn where to cut, but you just cut above the white. Just above the white, just a little bit there. And okay, once you cut the ears, then you want to pull it down to where the eyes are. Again, you'll see where the white is. I'll just slice that just above it. Now, just go around the face, and you'll kind of see where it's holding on. You just cut right above that white. Just go slow. Take your time on the face because you want it to look nice for appearance when you go to sell your weasels. You don't want the face all ripped apart. One slice on each side of the jaw. And you can pull it right down. And once on the chin. There it is. One little weasel. Hard to believe that can take down a chicken. Okay, now that you have your hide, this is a little female, so I want my little female weasel stretcher, just a narrow one. They kind of stink a little bit. Come on, cameraman. Okay, pull her on down. This is a little one. If your stretchers are a little wide, you just have to make some narrower ones for your smaller weasels. See, we have the lesser weasels in our area, and the lessers, they just don't get quite as big. So a lot of the stretchers you'll buy are for the greater, so you'll have to either modify them or just take your time and putting them on there. There's very little fleshing to do on a weasel. You pretty much just pull on the meat. A little bit of chunks of meat here and there is all there is. Pull your glove up tight. Oh. Don't throw your weasels away. Save them. That's good meat. That's good bait for your weasel set because they have a distinctive odor. It's almost like a skunk. And the other weasels smell that and they'll come running. Another amazing thing about a weasel hide is it only takes an hour or two when it's dry. It's ready to take off the stretchers, so it's pretty amazing. They dry really fast. You could almost take all your weasels out the day before a sale or something and have them all put up the next day. Okay, now the tail. This is the trickiest part of the weasel. Well, it's stripping his tail. You want to take your needle knife and go right down to the tip of the tail. If I can get it in there. There it goes. All right, there. Now what we do, we just take a couple push pins, pull it down on beside the tail. And there's that. Now what you want to do is kind of spread this hair out on the tail. It's not the easiest thing in the world to do. So what I like to do, where's my sticks? Oh, my sticks. Take a little stick and run it down it. And that'll open it up for you. And it's a lot easier to, you can either just leave it open like that and just put a pin. That's what I do. I just pull it down and I'll put a pin in it. Method is clothespins. If you have clothespins and a thin board, you can take and pinch them like that. If you don't have push pins, you can also do that. And that helps it too, to give you your window. You can just do that, and that gives it a nice little window there. So that's another way. If you don't have no push pins, that makes it a lot easier. All right, there it is. Pile of weasels. The season's over now. Time to do a little spring beaver trapping and do other things. The weasels wasn't a real good winter this year with all the deep snow. It's hard to get around, and the weasels were under the ice a lot and stuff. But you know, if you find the tracks, that's the main thing you have to remember. You always got to look for them tracks. If you find the tracks, set by the tracks. And don't ever forget that either. Where you find tracks this year, you'll find them in the future every year. So I'm not going to bore you on over and over saying the same thing over and over. So all you need is your box, the weasel box, a little small foot trap, and a little bit of rabbit fur or fur feathers is what I like to use. So then wire your trap off to a tree. Make sure you wire your trap off, and that's as simple as it is. You know, we don't want to make things complicated, because when you complicate things, you're going to run into trouble. So just what I do is between beaver sets, between swamp to swamp, when I'm trapping is what I'll do when I'll trap the weasels. So you don't want to go out of your way, because you're like this year the gas prices were so much that it made it real hard to afford trapping. So back when the gas prices were only $1 a gallon, it was a long time ago, but I caught 140 in 1 year, you know. Well, to catch 140 this year, I would have run in the hole quite a ways. So you can't catch fur that's not there. In other states than Michigan, maybe out into the west and Rocky Mountain states, there is said to be a lot more weasels. So maybe it could be profitable in other states. But what I do is I'll try to call taxidermists and stuff if you want to sell a few. But for the main thing is, you're just out there having a good time, getting the kids hooked on trapping, and that's what it's all about. So I'd like to wrap it up by thanking everybody. And I don't know if you've seen it or not yet, but I have a video out. It's called The Rat Race. But it's a trapping muskrats by thousands at a time. I catch a couple, 3,000 muskrats a year. That's how I found these weasel trapping. So it kind of works together. So maybe you can work a little rat race into your weasel line. Until next time, see you later. Take care. God bless. I struck it rich. 40 cents in a weasel. Now there's a day. Here in Michigan, we have 10-cent refund on all our bottles and cans. I don't know why, but it's only a couple states, if you look on it, that has that. I don't know why the whole country shouldn't be that way. It'd clean up the country. It'd clean up everything. So when you're out there, remember the cans. A lot of cars going by, throwing out their cans, throwing out their garbage. But hey, I'm making money off them. But it just disgusts you. In certain ditches, you see so much stuff floating, and people really need to be more self-conscious about it. If there was a refund in all the states, people would definitely be more self-conscious. So call your congressman. Tell them.
Distributed by F&T Fur Harvesters Trading Post. This has been a Tagging Out Hunting production. Go to www.taggingouthunting.com.